And welcome to our next session with Shray. Shray from Good Peeps. Shray, how are you doing today, my friend?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, dude, thanks for taking the time. I know how busy your schedule is. I think first thing I want to call out, and I said this earlier on, Forbes 30 under 30. I think I just saw that. I think it came out just last week, I
Yeah,
believe. But congrats, dude. That's a
thanks,
great
man.
award there.
Yeah, it's been a cool week to say the least.
And so I have it up, so I have to ask. So here it says the company scaled from 1 to 10 employees this year and has generated 100 million in revenue and over 60 million monthly views on social media channels. Is like take I know you probably don't like doing this, but give me like 30 seconds, a minute of like why? Like why did they pick you? Like tell me why you have been so successful. It's
Uh,
okay to be egotistical right now. It's me asking you a question.
I think it's to like backtrack it and make this way longer than 30 seconds is like
Okay.
I do not have a traditional marketing background in the slightest. Didn't go to advertising school, didn't learn how to do PR pitches, any of that bullshit. I actually used to be like nutritional biochemist. Um, who is like doing data research analytics all the time. And so got like really clear with just being able to understand like what's bullshit, what's not, like look at things like uh pretty objectively. But like unlike I think a lot of the other agencies or a lot of the other business owners, I was kind of like born through the brand side. So I used to work at a lot of
Yeah.
companies. So like, I was the marketing manager at a company called Chacha Matcha. It was like this awesome shop in New York and LA. In the year that we were there, they did like crazy collabs with like Kith, Nike, Versace, Louis Vuitton, like all these other guys. Then moved over and was the head of marketing and growth at a company called Nugs, which we rebranded, called it into Simulate.
Okay.
Built out the growth, the acquisition, the marketing functions there, and then was at Health Aid Kombucha, that like kombucha brand that's in like every single store in the United States, and so helped lead up all of digital as well as growth at that business, and so kind of like built all of my relationships and kind of name as just like this operator who just like was obsessed with working all the time. And then I think when we moved over and I decided to start my own company, it was like, hey, like I told you before this, like I'm not the greatest at like PR and like short form content and like being like a Twitter thought lord, but like what I'm really good at is like I understand marketing, and I think that people, especially now with like how recession's going and all that, um, people just want to work with people that can impact their business in like a really meaningful way. And it's like Good Peeps, we've never once pitched a brand, we've never once outreach to a brand. It's all just been through intros through our other brands that we work with because
Mhm.
like they like the work that we do, and
Yeah.
so rather than relying on like top of funnel marketing, like any great business, like if you have a strong word of mouth, that just means you have a great product. So I think we've just built a good product with Good Peeps.
That's great. I think that I guess the way that I see it too is I personally love reading books about people that have been in the weeds before, and you could tell the author is completely different than a book written by, no offense to consultants out there, but someone that's outside talking about the inside stuff.
Yeah,
And that's I would say like that's how I would compare that is that you've been there, like and you're
yeah.
driven. So again, congrats to you, Shrey.
Thank you.
I want to take this to a next topic, which is I recall you saying, I think it was on a previous podcast, but you talked about customer experience as an entertainment almost center. Um, I guess first question for you is why do you view that? Is that true? Do you think about that sometimes, and why do you view it as an entertainment center?
Yeah, I think that like with CX, so much of it is people just going, we need to be putting out fires yesterday. And so it's super reactive. And so the output of the person who's behind the desk responding to tickets has the mindset of someone who's being reactive, right? So it's how do I respond to as many tickets as humanly possible? And so I can put out the fires that need to be put out because the house is burning down because it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and we sold like 75 times the units that we didn't expect. And
Right.
our shipping is behind, etc. And so like for me, I always thought of CX as like similar to social DMs. Someone is willing enough to reach out to you directly, the brand, to go, hey, either where's my shit or I have this question or whatever have it be. And so like they've now experienced all of your content, your creative, your website, your tone of voice, your imagery, etc. Like this is like really the first time that you have to really be about your shit because you could have this amazing experience, but if
Yeah.
your customer support team is just hello Brian, order number this is this, like the soul of the brand dies and like the whole kind of experience dies there because it's now the first unique one-to-one touch point that's going on. And so when I'm talking with our customer service and support teams, it's treat marketing like or treat CX like it's a marketing channel. Like the people that you should be interacting with should either have like such a great experience or this unique experience where they actually felt like they were talking to someone who gave a shit. They were being funny. They, made the, conversation lighter. They educated you about the brand and the product in a way that you didn't know. They went above and beyond in some way. But it now becomes a marketing channel. People start talking about this amazing experience that they had with the brand. It humanizes the brand, right? Because they now have this one-to-one interaction. And so, like, what we end up doing is that with all of our brands that we work with, when we're going through CX, we actually put them through the brand training so they can speak to the brand similar to how our social team does, our ad
Yeah.
team does, etc. So I call it entertainment because it's like, hey guys, have fun. The customer will feel that, and it won't be as much of a transactional moment as they probably get with every other brand that exists on the market today.
Now, do you though have to go through a branding almost exercise because it probably needs to be in parallel with whatever the components and the emotions that are coming out of the marketing side of the brand. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I think it's like if you can convey enough of what the brand isn't, you should let people kind of fill in what it is.
Oh, interesting.
Um, and I feel that great CX people are people that are great writers. Like they just inherently understand human emotion, tonality, etc. Like it doesn't take a PhD thesis in brand marketing to understand how a underwear brand might talk to you if you have a shitty experience about your underwear and like how it got stolen. I think it's just like half of the brand training is like, do you have common sense, high emotional equity? And the other half of it is like, can you use a tone of voice that sounds like an actual person, not a robot?
Hmm. That's so interesting, and I feel like that's almost a I'll call it a hot take where I do think CX is leans or should be leaning more towards the creative side than anything right now. But let me kind of take a step back. So I checked out some of your brands, Chomps, Caged, and I will say that the on the marketing side, these websites clearly, from my perspective, job well done. Like it's clear, it's like wow, the brand is coming right at, like, the brand, the emotions, and you are sharing that with whoever's visiting. When does you were talking about CX as the extension? And I guess my question is, in your examples, when you were diving into the brands and creating this, do you think about CX afterwards, or are you actually thinking about, all right, here's how CX plays a part of this, while at the same time as you're recreating the website and thinking about the branding components and rebuilding it?
The right answer should be I think about it in the start and I think about the end result at the kick. But what I end up actually doing in practice most of the time is I don't even bucket CX as like a separate thing. It's much more just what's our tone of voice and how does that come to life. And there are a bunch of ways that a customer experiences our tone of voice. Is that through the website? Is that through emails? Is that through social? Is that through responding to the DMs? Is that through responding to ad comments? Is that responding to CX tickets? And so for me, I kind of just look at it more as a how does our tone of voice translate into the channel versus a really thoughtful exercise of like, and this is how it translates, or let's have our CX be the pivotal pillar that we then build these insights off of. I wish I could say that I was really smart and do that, but really it's more about just like how do we make it so that when we're talking to someone, no matter what
Yeah,
channel it is, it's an awesome experience.
yeah. There are I don't say, all right, fine. I think there are way too many tools out there, and there's a lot more tools than I think almost challenges today. How does Good Peeps think about utilizing technology to solve some of the CX challenges? Is it at the forefront, or is it like, hey, regardless of the tool agnostic, like we got to figure out some key issues first outside of just utilizing a tool?
Anything that does one of two things well, we'll always use. One, it saves time from repetitive tasks. An example of that would be uh, like this shipping insurance company that I'm not an advisor to, but this shipping insurance company that we work with that we love, like Order Protection. Like what they'll do is that they'll basically say, hey, you're going to get a bunch of people. We're going to insure a lot of your orders for these expensive ass products. You're buying $500 Hexclad order.
Yeah,
You have shipping insurance. And so rather than your CX team having to deal with like the tickets of like where's my stuff, etc., we'll take that on and we'll go through the brand training, etc. And that'll be a redundant task that actually buys back my team's time. We'll sign up for stuff like that because it's like there are some of these repetitive things that you could do by just teaching other teams how to do it, and it doesn't require rocket science to be able to communicate with customers. Like common sense gets you 80% of the way there, 90% of the
yeah,
time. Or you'll have something like Postscript did like Postscript sales, right? And so like they'll use this team that's in I think Texas or whatever have it be to basically have one-to-one conversations with the brands um, or with our customers and basically help them to get beyond just the consideration phase but go into the conversion phase. And so you'll kind of see that we break it out into two buckets where it's like, is this a repetitive task that can be taught and with enough common sense it can be kind of managed, or is this something that requires a one-to-one touch that I don't want to build the team out for, but this tool is really helpful because it helps drive efficiency in the overall business. So very rarely do you find things in bucket number two. Most of the time you find things in bucket number one. And for the things that are in bucket one, it's like, can you offload the work off of my team without sacrificing the actual experience that we have with the customer? Because too many times, like you say, you just start like offloading everything into machines, and like all of a sudden you're getting like 8 texts going like, hello Brian, I'm going to keep using Hexclad because I just bought one from my mom, so it's just top of mind. But you left your Hexclad in the cart. Click here to buy, blah, blah, blah. And like, sure, it works. It has impact, but in my eyes, it completely kills the whole branding experience. And
yeah.
so it's like that trade off. Like to me, that like small amount of realized revenue is not worth the machining of the business and like the automation of the business because it kills it. So we'll use tech as much as we can. um, I just find that most tech sucks at acting like humans and like trying to act um, like a person.
So on that note, um, how important is the human element in CX,
Yeah,
in your opinion? And
yeah.
do you think that there always will be that human element moving forward?
I I think that AI is doing a great job of starting to sound like humans, but when it comes to anything that's a more complex problem, I see it just failing instantly. And it's like I think that there are big buckets where you can remove the human element to it. Like, for example, where's my order?
Okay.
That's most CX people's ticket problems. And that could be something that's offloaded to something that's, AI. But if it's like, hey, AI has already like said, like, where's my order? And someone's like, I'm not happy with this. I need you guys to do XYZ. Like when it requires that like kind of human element to it, where it's like, hey, it's now moved beyond just this kind of like copy and paste cookie cutter response. I think it'll always require a human element. Like look at fast food, look at a lot of these dining establishments. They have tried to move everything into those annoying ass kiosks that you just click and a bunch of people have touched and it's like super grimy and dirty, but whatever, because it's easy. But at the end of the day, if you want anything that's not out of the box in terms of a solution or a response, you'll end up just going to the person at the front desk going like, hey, can I actually just make my order with you? Because I don't want to click 75 buttons to figure out what I need. And so I think that there's going to be always this element on direct to consumer, where it's like, hey, at some point there needs to be someone to catch this customer journey or this customer reach out, because like automation will not solve the irrational human experience in my eyes. Like think about a business that has been trying to solve everything through automation for a while now is like all things like call centers, right? Like you go and call American Express, you go call DoorDash because your order is messed up, you go call Verizon because you need to go and update some of your billing info. These guys have figured out that there are certain parts of the journey where it's like, hey, this could be managed by a robot and this could just be managed because it's a very in and out task. You want to update your credit card information, put your number in. You want to update your shipping information for your product that you just got delivered or that just got shipped out, put in the right address here. But for almost everything else, people prefer to talk to people because it just gives them that sense of like confidence that like what they're looking for to be resolved is actually being dealt with by someone who cares. Like I think that's something that AI will never fully take over.
It's interesting if you look at even just the last few years. I've talked to several brands as well where they go from, okay, they're scaling a brand, they start to go to a BPO and they're going to outsource everything, and then they see the customer experience drop, and then they go back in-house, and then it gets expensive, and now some of these brands I've talked to are doing a little bit of both. That's again just what I've seen, but I'm curious if you've noticed the same type of patterns, and I guess like is there a next step to that? Like, do you think that this will change? Do you think it'll be a mix of outsourcing and keeping agents in house? Do you have recommendations
100%.
to your
Yeah,
clients?
I think 100% it'll move that way. But I think that there's this like classic thing that's going on in Silicon Valley and a lot of tech where it's like just the word AI makes everyone like lose their shit and they're like, oh my God, it's this like crazy genie in a bottle. But most of the tools in practice today, I don't think that these language models understand. Like I think these language models do a great job of understanding output for very broad conversations. Like give me an article that talks about 5 reasons why you should be drinking protein powder every day. Like it's good at digesting a lot of info and just kind of regurgitating it. But when it comes to these like kind of like unique experiences where there's like a lot of different factors that go into it, from like tonality, who the person is, etc., I just don't think at this point there is a tool that solves for that in the way that the customer is expecting their problems to be solved for. But I think like what you're saying, the blended side, which is like, hey, like people asking where their order is, throw that into AI all day because all they need to go is just grab. Exactly. And so I just think you have to figure out which solutions or which moments that solution works and not just try to like throw it everywhere that you can, because I could very quickly see that just pissing off your full customer base.
Right. Before the call, I asked if you had some subscription brands, and I know you do. It's not the majority of brands, but you do have some subscription brands, and I wanted to kind of ask about that. If there was a challenge in retention, getting customers to purchase again and again and again, do you have any? I'll call it a formula or any sort of path that you usually go down of like, well, first we got to look at this, and second we got to look at this part of the customer journey. And can you share kind of any of those insights with us?
Yeah, we use this tool called Lifetimely. I think it's like really cheap and like close to free. It's like not expensive whatsoever. And it gives you basically what you're looking for to understand why your product is not doing as well as you're looking for it to do. What Lifetimely lets you do is it looks at cohorts, cohort trends, repurchase rate data, time between purchase, repurchase the same product, repurchase different products, etc. And so like what we'll do to understand and kind of dissect subscriptions per se is, one, go to the most common denominator. Most people end up canceling their subscription from month 1 to month 2. That's where most of the churn happens. Cool. Make sure that you have a unsub subscription survey of why did you do that? And in those questions, have one of two things. Either, hey, this is something that you're canceling your subscription for, but by the way, we actually solve for that with XYZ. Do you want to make sure you keep your subscription? Because there might just be an education gap. Or two, it's, hey, your product is not what I wanted it to be. Your pricing is too high. You sent me too much of this. I don't need enough of, like, going and just looking at that month 1 to 2 churn and understanding why people are kind of churning is like the simplest way to go and figure out why your product's not doing as well as you want. And then second is we look at time between purchase for a lot of our brands because we are a consumable business. And so, like, for
Right.
example, just because I have it in front of me, say that like these guys, like Caged, um, on the back of our product, it has 24 servings, right? And so if you're taking about a scoop of protein per day, this should last you about a month. Um, and so if it's not that, then cool. It's really clear that there are a couple of things going on. Either one, we're not doing a good enough job of educating them on how to use the product and why to use the product, right? Because sure, the customer will buy it and use it the way that they want to, but we need to get there as the educator of like why you should be using it at this frequency. Um, Two, they've bought, but they haven't bought in a really long time. And that's that time between purchase and they just buy the next time we're on sale. So great, that's a pricing problem.
Yeah.
Or three, we look at their initial order purchase and it's like a huge promo and we just go, great, like it just wasn't a solid quality demo. So we honestly just spend time between those two guys. And like the simple answer tends to be the right answer, which is just look at what your customers are
What are they
saying
telling you?
and just digest it. Because like you see that so many of the times you work with these brands that have these like fancy ass Tableau breakdowns and these fucking
Yep.
NPS scores, and you're like, when was the last time you talked with like 50 of your top customers that recently churned and asked them why? And that'll get you 80%, 90% of the way there. It's like going back to like original OG founder common sense mentality. I just think that people tend to over productize and over process things that in practice tend to be much simpler than they appear.
Now, do you have any? Or let me take a step back. I think what's really fascinating to me is you answered it from, and this is not what's fascinating, but you answered it from a founder's perspective that's really involved with the product, where it's like, well, the product. It sounds to me like you're saying the product or the pricing, it's the service that people are leaving. Now, have you changed, or do you have examples, or if you work with brands that have shifted any sort of strategies to get to the point of where maybe it's like kind of disguising a little bit of the product or the pricing. And again, I say that because let's use Cage as an example. Like, and I might be wrong here, but I look at the website and I look at everything that Cage is doing to sell me on that first purchase. And then, is there anything that happens after that, after 2 months, 3 months, that you're doing to keep on selling them again to repurchase or repurchase?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cage is a pretty unfair example to use because I can answer this forever, which is like what's great about supplement brands, right? Is that one part of your job is to inspire the purchase, but the second part of your job is to become a part of their daily lifestyle. And
Yeah.
so the way that you do that is by one, obviously educating them on the product. And so post purchase, like what we do a fantastic job of is like Caged wants to own two buckets, education and inspiration. And so what do we do is like we have the greatest quality product that is on the market. But every single fucking founder says that because they're all drinking their own Kool-Aid. And so how do we build that value is that we focus on education. Hey, health and wellness is really complicated, complex, and most people nowadays are so confused by what they're being told on a daily basis, like they feel like they need a master's thesis to even understand like what to eat anymore. And so like what do we do at Cage? We promise that we will deliver to you really sound research backed science on how to live a better lifestyle with our products being a part of that lifestyle. And so
Yep.
rather than focusing on exclusively the product, we focus on the lifestyle. And so we educate you on both how you should use this stuff, but also how you should be living your broader life to become a better and healthier you. So that builds that trust in a longer term because now you're no longer just buying our protein isolate, you're buying from Cage, the actual business that you now trust. So that's bucket one to kind of build in
Okay.
repurchase. And the other is like think about like any higher end brand. In my eyes, Nike, which you have literally right behind you. You think about like a Starbucks. You think about like any of these like affordable luxuries, they do this great job of just kind of making you feel good. Like by you owning the product, by you subscribing to the mission, to the vision, to the values of this business, you look at this product with like a an angle of like joy and like you're just super proud to be a part of this thing. I think a lot of people who drink AG1 feel that way, right? They're in the in crowd because
Right.
they take their greens every day, and it's in this nice glass bottle. It's super premium and it's fantastic. It's a great experience. And so for Cage, we then focus our emotional output on inspiration. And so great, we've educated you about the product. We've shown you how it goes into your day-to-day lifestyle. Now, like, let's now focus the rest of our time getting you to want to be better. Like Cage's tagline is never stop evolving. And so like we now then push that into our actual content strategy beyond purchase one, which is talking about, you know, putting them up for hydration challenges, putting them up for like what we'll do is that you onboard to the brand and we'll shoot you texts in the morning of just like these quotes that, you know, we find super inspirational. We'll put together fitness challenges to get the community to activate.
Yeah.
You know, we'll work with celebrities and creators that you think are cool and interesting that then talk about, you know, their struggles and challenges and their kind of mental blockers. And so the goal of all of this is like, cool, let the product do the speaking for itself, but also like, what if we just doubled down and like half the time you saw Cage, we just kind of made you feel better. In this instance, it was with the action of like move is like what we always try to kind of convey. And so every time you see us, you now think about wanting to be better, wanting to do better, getting inspired, feeling like you're a part of a community. You're now not just exclusively relying on your product to drive subsequent purchases. And I think a lot of direct to consumer brands completely miss the mark on that.
Gosh, that's good. So let me just clarify really quick. Post purchase education is one element of this, and post purchase inspiration is another point of it, right? Do I have
Exactly.
that right?
Exactly. Like I think
That's good.
a brand that we don't work with that I fucking love, and my wallet can back it, is like Jolie, uh, the shower head. And like,
Okay.
what do? They educate the hell out of you on like what the filter is, what it filters out, how your water is disgusting, etc. But you know what they also spend a lot of their product messaging on? You're going to have these great hair, skin, nails. Your hair is going to feel healthy. Your skin's going to feel better. Like it's these outputs where you go, oh, I want to feel like that. I want to be that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Um, and I think they do a fantastic job of getting you hyped up about something that used to be like the most boring thing in your house, which is like, what shower head are you using? You now feel like, one, you know more than all of your friends about the water that you have that's going into your house. And then
Yep.
two, you could say with confidence that like my hair health is way better than yours because of XYZ. And that's that like inspiration of like feeling better, looking better, whatever have it be.
Yeah. I mean, this actually goes in a full loop because the attendees here, what has been talked about a lot that I keep on hearing is celebrating your customers, and it's celebrating your customers too because the if we all look in our inboxes, email inboxes, like the let's be honest, like the world's a tough place right now. There's like a lot going on, and if you look at your inbox right now, it's all just marketing messages: buy this, buy this, buy this from certain brands, and there's just not much of just one, education that you have just said, two, inspiration, or three, just celebration of just like, hey, congrats, something happened, or with
Yeah.
the brand, or you
Yeah.
did this. And if we could just tell the people listening those three things to focus on, I think just retention in general, my assumption is will change drastically
Yeah.
if you focus on those things. Would you agree? Is there anything I'm missing there?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think a perfect example is like we have a underwear brand called Culprit, and we just changed our first email onboarding or post purchase email from you're going to be getting this order and it's going to be shipped by then to you just made the fucking best decision of your life. That is literally the phrase that we use. And if you
Yeah.
then look at the subsequent repurchase rates, open rates, click through rates of the customers that came in through that welcome series, That's great. I'm actually stealing that from you as the celebration side. It is a complete game changer. I think that so many of the times people are just like, all right, thanks for buying our product. Do you want to buy another one
Yeah.
at 20% off? And you're like, no shit that your subscription business is failing. Yeah, sell not just the product, but sell the brand. And if you don't have a brand, then fucking get one. It helps LTV just as much as a good product does.
Well, I think that's a good place to end here, Shray. Thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. Shray Joshi, hey, check that out. Again, congrats on the Forbes 30 under 30. Well deserved.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.